Unveiling spine-chilling secrets of a haunting music festival. Discover the sinister stories. The sun dipped low over Willow Creek, casting long shadows that twisted beneath the bright banners of the annual music festival. Laughter rang out, pulsing with the vibrant rhythm of drums and guitars. But Lisa couldn't shake the feeling of dread creeping up her spine. She clutched her two children closer, as if their little hands might ward off the unseen horrors that seemed to lurk just beneath the cheerful surface of the gathering. Disappearances, whispers of vanishing children from past festivals echoed in her mind. Tales she had chalked up as mere urban legends. But now, as she scanned the crowd, she felt a chill that made her skin prickle. Emma and Jake were off, darting between families. Their laughter chased after the melodies, floating like a fleeting illusion. Lisa smiled, but her heart drummed a frantic beat, drowning out everything else. Why was she so uneasy? Maybe it was the stories she heard. The tales of a boy who vanished years ago, knowledge whispered just out of earshot. Quick flickers of movement pierced her peripheral vision, shadows darting just out of grasp. The music shifted, an ominous tone weaving through the melodies, and Lisa's instincts flared. Before she could think any further, an unnerving familiarity caught her eye, a performer with an unsettling grin. He stepped closer, eyes gleaming like a predator assessing its prey. It was as if he knew her secrets, her past. Panic simmered beneath her skin. Then, with a sudden laugh, Emma and Jake disappeared into the throng of festival goers. Lisa's heart dropped. The laughter faded around her, replaced by the disorienting chaos of the festival. She pushed into the crowd, calling out for her children. A desperate plea lost in the sea of jubilance, an electric current of fear shot through her as shadows flitted about. It wasn't just the lights dancing. It was the very air around her shifting in tandem with her rising anxiety. She spotted the performer again, his smile widening with each passing moment, as unnerving as the stories of the missing boy. Her voice erupted with urgency. "Emma! Jake! Where are you?" The music drowned her cries, but every instinct screamed for her to keep searching. Lisa squeezed through clusters of families. Each face turned to hers with puzzled glances, but none recognized the panic creeping into her heart. The moment she approached the festival organizer, a well-known figure, dread washed over her. His welcoming smile felt like a trap. She felt something sinister lurking beneath his surface charm. Stories of ancient rituals, shady dealings, and dark bargains swirled in her mind like a swirling storm. "It's just a festival," he said, but his eyes, those cold, calculating eyes, said otherwise. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." The shadows grew thicker, slipping into corners, creeping along paths. Lisa's skin crawled as those whispers drew near, spinning tales of children last seen under the very glow of the festival lights. She stumbled back, desperate for clarity, but the familiar face of the performer was everywhere, taunting her with his presence. Her heart thundered as she caught sight of Emma and Jake laughing in the distance. It pierced through her panic, but that laugh turned into something unsettling, echoing as if twisted by malevolence. Just then, a piercing scream shattered the atmosphere, sending waves of terror through the crowd. Lisa's blood ran cold. Her gut turned as she locked eyes with her children across the field. Sense of doom enveloped her, shaking her to her core. What hidden folklore, what horrid rituals awaited them? The drums thumped ominously, and Lisa felt the festival shadow ever closer, dragging her into a darkness she could barely fathom. What would happen when the final chord struck? What truths lay waiting, entwined with the very essence of her family's safety? The scream hung in the air, ripping through the revelry like a knife. Lisa's heart pounded in her chest as she desperately pushed through the crowd. Faces turned to her, confused, incredulous. trapped in moments of bliss while shadows flitted just out of view. "Emma! Jake!" she shouted, straining to catch a glimpse of her children. Each second stretched in agony, the upbeat music now twisted into a mockery of joy. That familiar performer loomed at the edge of her vision, his unsettling grin wide and mocking. Her instincts screamed for her to flee, but she couldn't abandon her children, not now, not ever. As she continued her frantic search, the laughter of her kids echoed, but it felt garbled, distorted, like a hollow specter of mirth. Each step towards the sound sent her deeper into the unknown, colliding head-on with a nagging dread. The drizzle began, light at first, but soon morphed into a heavy downpour, reflecting the chaos in her mind. The vibrant banners hung limp, and the once joyous colors bled beneath the rain, mixing with the pounding of her heart. She stumbled into a clearing, eyes darting through the haze. There, in a half-lit corner, she spotted the two small figures, her children. But they weren't alone. The performer stood among them, his form fluid, shadowy, as if he was part of the very darkness surrounding them. "Come with me," he crooned, his voice smooth yet chilling, wrapping around Lisa like fog. Emma and Jake giggled under his spell, their smiles wide and eyes gleaming with a brightness that felt wrong. A primal instinct jolted through her. This was not her children anymore. "Stop! Get away from them!" Lisa yanked forward, fear fueling her steps. The closer she got, the further away they seemed, as if the space between them was expanding with each of her desperate strides. The energy of the festival dulled. The music faded and twisted, echoing phrases of dread. "Mommy," her daughter's voice wavered, the joy in it cracking. "He said we can fly." Lisa's heart sank. The shadows behind the performer bulged and danced, hungry tendrils reaching out as if yearning to pull her in. "You don't want to fly," Lisa cried, desperation etching its way into her voice. "Come back, please." The air thickened with an unseen force, dragging at Lisa's body, as if the ground beneath her began to shift. Then something snapped. The laughter morphed into wails that clawed at her heart, clawing, scratching from the inside out. She was losing them. Suddenly, the performer turned, glaring straight at her. His eyes burned like coals, deep wells of darkness that pulled her closer. "You're too late," he whispered, voice dripping with delight. "Every year, the festival takes its tribute." The words struck Lisa like a physical blow. Something inside her twisted painfully. Memories of her children's laughter, of bedtime stories, of hugs flashed through her mind. No, this couldn't be happening. With a desperate leap, she lunged towards them, heart racing, outstretched arms ready to rescue, but the darkness shifted. A blinding light erupted from the stage, engulfing everything in a kaleidoscope of colors. The crowd gasped collectively, a wave of intrigue and fear rolling through them, but Lisa was paralyzed in place. Lisa's breath hitched. The echoes of her children's cries drowned beneath the sinister laughter of the performer as the light consumed her. What was real? What had she just stepped into? In that moment, with her family slipping away from her grasp, a sinister question rang out in the distance, a question etched in her mind. What would she sacrifice to save them? The final chord loomed. The festival was far from over, and the real horror was just about to reveal itself. Lisa's world ignited into a storm of color and sound. All around her, the festival atmosphere morphed into chaos. Hysterical laughter twisted in unsettling melodies, clashing with the deep, rumbling beats that pulsed through the saturated air, tightening around her throat like a noose. Her heart raced faster than the desperate thoughts racing through her mind. What had she stepped into? What had she unleashed? The darkness at the edge of her vision rippled, pulling her attention to the performer. He was consuming the light, adding to his own shadowy aura. Those coals, his eyes burned with a hunger that promised nothing but despair. "You want them, don't you?" His voice ghosted through the haze, taunting. "Every parent does. Let them go." Lisa screamed, a raw edge tearing at her voice. The crowd seemed oblivious, swaying in hypnotic stupor. She felt the edges of her sanity fraying, torn apart by screams muffled underneath frantic beats. With each second, She lost pieces of her children to the ominous performer's allure, and her resolve hardened. "Emma! Jake!" she cried again, her voice breaking the spell in the air like glass shattering. Each syllable clawed out of her throat left her gasping for breath. Their giggles rang again, but now they twisted into something wicked, something dark. Jake's laughter echoed like shards of glass, sharp and piercing, while Emma chimed in, a sweet sound tainted by darkness. "Mommy, come play." They chimed together, and Lisa felt bile rise in her throat. It was not them. This was a sick joke. They were being puppeted by evil. She tore through the crowd, the shifting shadows and luminous colors making her dizzy. The downpour cascaded heavier, turning the ground beneath her into a slippery battleground. With every step, she fought against an unseen force that tugged at her limbs, an icy grip that sought to drag her deeper into the murk. Finally reaching the spot where they stood, she reached out. As her fingers brushed against Emma's arm, she recoiled in horror. The flesh felt wrong, like the surface of a dream that evaporated upon waking. "We want to fly with him, Mommy." Emma's smile twisted into a grimace that matched the shadowy figure's grin. Lisa's heart shattered. "No, this isn't my Emma." Anger mixed with despair, igniting a fire within her that she could barely control. With renewed fervor, she summoned every ounce of love buried beneath the terror. "Emma, Jake, listen to me. You're my children. You don't want to fly with him. Remember the stories? The nightlight? Remember us." As if her words rang a bell, a flicker of recognition awakened in their eyes. The relentless laughter faded momentarily, drowned by the echoes of memories that seeped through the chaos, their small hands curling around her fingers during bedtime. The thrill of Christmas mornings, the warmth of family dinners. The performer recoiled, frustration curling his lips into a sneer. "You think memories can save them? They belong to me now." Shadows and writhing tendrils snaked toward her, eager to consume her next. With every second, the aura of dread thickened, and the churning darkness began to close around them. Lisa's world, her reality, was slipping away. But then, through the thick shadows, she saw a glimmer, a tiny beacon of light breaking through the veil of darkness. "Let us go," she shouted, yanking her children towards the light. They hesitated, but the flicker of recognition continued to grow, illuminating the ever-thickening darkness surrounding them. Yet as they edged closer, Lisa's chest tightened. She wasn't just fighting for her children. She was thrust into a bigger nightmare. But the sinister whispers of the performer swirled behind them, a rage-filled serenade promising doom. "Come back to me." Lisa felt the air crackle, time warping around them like a snapping rubber band. The moment was slipping away, shadows groping at her heels, hungry, relentless eye in the distance. Another scream pierced through the lurking chaos, a haunting sound that froze the essence in her bones. Who else had been taken? As the light engulfed their forms, the decision loomed. What must Lisa confront to reclaim her children and escape the murky grip of darkness? With the claustrophobic shadows hot on their trail, she felt the weight of her next steps. The festival's ominous pact loomed above them like a storm. Would she be the one to make the ultimate sacrifice? The chaos swirled around them, every breath a countdown to terror. What lay ahead was both horrifying and unknown, a path shrouded in shadows and impossible choices. The flickering light grew brighter, an urgent beacon against the darkness that seemed to throb with malevolent intent. Lisa yanked her children forward, the chilling whispers of the performer still echoing like a devil's hymn in the back of her mind. "Stay close," she warned, forcing her grip tighter around their hands. Every instinct screamed to run, to escape, but the shadows clung to them, pulling them back, clawing at their hope. With every stride toward the light, shadows extended like dark fingers reaching for her. Lisa's heart thudded painfully against her ribs, urging her onward. The sounds of the festival faded into a haunting silence, replaced by the low growl of something lurking just beyond their peripheral vision. The taste of metallic fear lingered in her mouth, and her breath came in shallow gasps, eyes darting. Where was the light taking them? Suddenly, Jake let out a pained whimper. "Mommy, I can't see you." Panic surged through her like a live wire. "I'm right here," she cried, desperately scanning the swirling masses of darkness, searching for the fading silhouettes of her children. The tether of her love stretched taut, threatening to snap as shadows swirled thick around them. Emma, her sweet girl, turned, eyes wide and tear-filled. "Mommy, I'm scared." Her voice quivered, pulling Lisa deeper into dread. These were not just shadows. They were creatures born from the very essence of fear, gnawing away at any glimmer of light that might lead them to freedom. "I'm here. I won't leave you." Lisa's assurance felt hollow, even to her ears. She could sense the performer's gaze, a predatory delight echoing behind her, savoring their fear like a fine wine. They stumbled into an open space, an empty patch where the laughter seemed to die, replaced by an oppressive silence. The air felt thick, choking. As she turned to see if they were still close, the darkness shifted. Tentacles of shadow stretched toward them, forming a grotesque picture that twisted her stomach. "Do you still think you can save them?" The performer's voice crept in, low and hypnotic. "They will come to me eventually. All children do." A horrifying realization clawed at her mind. Was there a time limit? Would her children be lost to him if she couldn't reach them in time? "Fight it!" Lisa yelled, desperation carving every word into the space between them. "Remember what I taught you. The light." The stories. A tremor ran through the space, and the shadows shrieked at her words, recoiling slightly. Jake squinted as if catching sight of something beyond the dread. "Mommy, the man? He's lying," Emma echoed, her voice trembling. "That's right. You love the stories," Lisa urged, feeling their bond feeding off her words. "Think of our nights beside the fire, the characters we met. We're a family." The shadows hesitated, flickering with uncertainty around her, beginning to writhe as if holding back laughter. Dark laughter, twisted and wicked. Time blurred. Moments stretched thin until it seemed the air itself would snap. And then a dull thud resonated in the pit of her stomach. The night seemed to inhale, anticipation crackling just before a storm. The shadows stirred, and amidst them, laughter, the same shrill trill of innocence, now turned sour. Then came a chorus echoing through the thickening dread. "Mommy, help us!" Lisa's heart lurched. It wasn't just Jake and Emma's voices. It was the voices of other lost children, entwined together in a nightmare she couldn't comprehend. This festival was more than just a celebration. It was a trap, a siren song to lure the innocent into a ravenous void. "Fight back!" she screamed again, her voice hoarse with emotion. "I love you. Remember the warmth of our home, the childlike wonder of the world we built together." As she reached out, more determined than ever, something began to stir in the darkness. A flicker of hope sparked, but before she could grasp it, a chilling wind swept through the clearing, and the shadows thickened, their true form revealed. The music shifted into a haunting melody, a bleak dirge that wrapped around her. Like a noose, Lisa fought against the dread clawing at her. No, she wouldn't give in. Not when her children needed her the most. But who would she have to confront to save them? A piercing scream split the air, one louder and more desperate than the first, and it sent shivers racing down Lisa's spine. The performer's laughter followed, echoing through the aisles of her deepest fears. What more would she need to sacrifice? The darkness began to pulse to the sinister rhythm, each beat pulling her children further into the void. The walls of reality bent, leaving cracks of light revealing glimpses of a past she desperately needed to confront. Would they make it, or would she lose everything to the lurking evil that fed on despair? The shadows loomed closer, a dance of terror spiraling around them. And in that whirlwind, a final question arose. What price would Lisa have to pay to reclaim her family? The darkness pressed in, cold and suffocating. Lisa's heart raced as she fought back against the creeping panic. Shadows moved at the edges of her sight, pulsing and writhing like living things. She could feel the chill in the air, a prelude to the horror that awaited them. "Mommy!" Jake's voice was barely a whisper, swallowed by the looming dread. "The shadows, they're coming for us." She turned to him, gripping his small hand with an urgency that sent jolts of pain through her own. "No, we're not going to let that happen." Every ounce of her being screamed at her to flee, but where could they run when the darkness was all around? And then she saw it, a flicker of silver, blinding against the gloom. A sliver of light. Was it another trap? Or their savior? "Look," she pointed, hope igniting in her chest. With a determined pull, she led her children toward the light, heart pounding in time with the macabre rhythm of the shadows. Each step felt like wading through thick mud, an invisible force trying to drag them back. She cast a glance over her shoulder. The performer stood there, a sinister grin stretched across his face, his eyes glinting with glee. He didn't just want to frighten them, he wanted to consume their fear. "Why do you resist?" he called, his voice smooth and dark. "You have no idea what joy lies in surrender." The voice trickled into her thoughts, a venomous whisper laced with temptation. But Lisa shook her head, pushing back against the creeping doubt. Joy? There was no joy here, only despair. "Keep moving," she urged, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. The light grew closer, its brightness beckoning them like the sun after a dark storm. Yet, as they approached, the ground quivered beneath them. A deep rumble resonated, a growl from the abyss that threatened to swallow them whole. In a moment frozen in time, the shadows surged. The tentacles of darkness lashed out, grasping for their legs. Lisa felt a sharp pull, a grip strong enough to rend flesh from bone. "Mommy!" Emma cried out. "No, not today," Lisa screamed, yanking her children free just as the shadows threatened to take hold. With one desperate leap, they burst through the writhing mass and into the open light. They landed in a clearing, the brightness dazzling in contrast to the swallowing void they had escaped. But the reprieve was short-lived. The space around them reeked of sorrow and decay, an altar of sacrifice hidden beneath the glow. Figures surrounded them, shadows made manifest, children with vacant eyes, their laughter twisted into a haunting cacophony. "You can't leave. Join us," they pleaded, reaching out with skeletal hands, their spectral forms drifting closer. It was as if the very fabric of reality was shredding apart, the echoes of the performer's laughter thickening the air. "The darkness comes for you all," he taunted from a distance. "You cannot hide. Love cannot protect you." Desperation clawed at Lisa's throat. "No, I won't abandon them." Suddenly an idea ignited. The stories, the myths of heroes and brave souls who venture into darkness only to emerge triumphant. "Jake, Emma, think of the tales we shared," she shouted, forcing the words through the monster of despair engulfing them. The children's eyes widened, reflecting fragments of their mother's resolve. Together, they shouted in unison, holding each other's hands as if connecting their strength through touch. As they rallied with the memories of love and light, the spectral children hesitated. The shadows shrieked, recoiling from the power of familial bonds, as if love was a weapon against their insatiable hunger. But the moment was fleeting. The performer's laughter morphed into rage, and the shadows surged with renewed fervor. "Foolish mortals! You think you can fight me?" Lisa's breath caught as the darkness coiled tighter, but the light around them flickered with rebellion. What would it take to banish the nightmare fully? If they could summon the warmth of their stories, perhaps they could disrupt the wickedness of this festival of fear. With every ounce of will, she began to recite the tales, a story of bravery and hope. Once upon a time, but before she could finish, an icy hand gripped her throat. The performer loomed large, fangs bared, a mask of fury etched on his features. "Your tales are nothing. What sacrifice would she have to make?" All around, shadows clamored and the children's cries reverberated in a chilling chorus, testing the limits of their conviction. Lisa felt the walls closing in, doubt as thick and savage as the darkness. Could one strong heart truly fend off the shadows? Or would she sacrifice all for her children's return? And so, she faced the shadows, voice trembling but unwavering. The final battle loomed in the darkness around them. Would love prove stronger than terror? The icy grip around Lisa's throat tightened, squeezing the breath from her lungs. She could feel her strength waning, but she fought against the darkness. The shadows danced gleefully around her, taunting her with whispers of failure. "Mommy!" Jake's voice rang out again, high-pitched and desperate, echoing through the clearing. She turned her gaze, and saw their pale faces etched with terror. Emma's eyes were wide, glistening with tears that mirrored the cries of the spectral children creeping nearer. "They want us. They want us to join them," Emma choked out, struggling against the pull of the nightmare. "No," Lisa shouted, pulling her daughter close. "We're not going anywhere with them." In defiance, she searched the clearing for anything that could fend off the malevolent force encircling them. The light flickered desperately, pulsing as if it were alive and aware. But it was small, barely holding its own against the encroaching darkness that hissed and spat with fury. The performer leaned down, his face grotesque with rage and disbelief. "Stories? You think stories can save you? They are your own prison." His breath was cold against her skin. "Every story has a hero," Lisa shot back, each word sharp and fierce, unyielding in the face of terror. "And every hero has to fight." Suddenly, the shadows recoiled slightly, as if the ground beneath them turned hot with her conviction. It was just a moment, as if the very essence of her love for her children created a barrier against the despair. "Think, Jake, remember the tales. The ones where love conquers all," she urged, her voice a rallying cry. Jake blinked and nodded uncertainly, clenching Emma's hand tightly. "The brave knight who battles the dragon," he shouted, his voice trembling but strong. "And the lady who never gave up." With every story they could conjure, the shadows seemed to falter, grinding their teeth in frustration. Yet, the performer's face twisted into a scornful grin, feeding off the fear. "Foolish children, you have no idea the power you face. Love is weak, but fear is my domain." Before Lisa could react, a swarm of shadows surged towards them, a tidal wave of darkness reaching out with claw-like hands. The spectral children joined in a chorus of laughter, their voices echoing between realms, piercing through the depth of the night like a dagger through flesh. "Hold on," Lisa cried, tightening her grip on Jake and Emma. She could feel their little hearts pounding against hers, a shared rhythm of raw determination. "Listen," she shouted, channeling everything into her voice. "You don't own us. Together we are stronger." But that flicker of hope was crushed by the shadows, pulling them closer, closer still, as if the very air surrounding them ignited with the cries of the damned. Just then, a bright flash erupted in the sky above them, a single star piercing through the thick haze of darkness, illuminating their terrified faces. The shadows hissed and shrieked, recoiling from the light. "Mommy, the star!" It's Emma exclaimed, her voice laced with both fear and curiosity. Just as Lisa was about to understand its significance, the performer snapped his attention towards it, his expression shifting from rage to pure malevolence. "No, you will not escape. Come to me. You are mine." With each word, he unleashed a wave of shadows, and the ground began to crack, a sinister rift opening at their feet. The clearing where they stood was teetering on the edge of annihilation, and Lisa felt herself being dragged toward the abyss. In that moment, she had to make a choice. Fight through the encroaching darkness or leap into the unknown, testing the very limits of her love and her courage as the shadows pulled them closer to the rift. A single thought pierced her heart. What if sacrificing herself would save their souls? The final question hung in the air: would they rise with her, or would it all vanish into nothingness? In an instant, chaos erupted. The shadows lunged forward, claws extended, their icy tips grazing Lisa's skin, sending chills spiraling through her veins. Fear tightened its grip on her heart as she felt the ground quake beneath them. The rift was a gaping maw, dark and hungry, eager to swallow them whole. "Mommy, the star. It's fading," Jake screamed, his voice shaking like a brittle leaf on a stormy day. His face was pale, the light flickering in his eyes fading along with hope. "No, we can't let it go," Lisa shouted back, urgency fueling every syllable. With a surge of energy, she pulled both children against her, feeling the warmth of their bodies anchoring her to reality. "We need that light. But as if the darkness were a living entity, it surged and twisted, pulling at her, whispering lies into her ears. "You're alone," it hissed. "You can't save them." "No," she screamed, shaking her head violently. "I won't let you take them. Together we're strong." The shadows seemed to recoil again, momentarily wavering, and for just a breath, Lisa could see the fear etched into the faces of the spectral children, as though they too were caught in a web of despair they couldn't escape. They were not just monsters, but lost souls searching for a way out, and somewhere deep inside, a flicker of empathy sparked in Lisa's heart. "Jake, Emma, keep holding on to me," she called, feeling a new strength crashing through her, like a wave breaking over a shore. "Tell me another story," Jake cried, shaking with fear and adrenaline, his voice cutting through the tension like a knife. "Tell me about the last battle, the one where the hero fights the monster and saves the day." Lisa's heart raced. She nodded, channeling all of her fear and love into her voice. "Once upon a time, in a land cloaked in darkness, a hero rose against a terrible evil." The stories poured out, spinning a tapestry of hope in the air, woven with every gripping moment she could remember. The creatures around them hissed louder, their frustration boiling over as the tale unfolded. Each word wrapped around her children, a protective barrier against despair. As the climax of her story reached its peak, a crackling laughter echoed, deep and sinister. The performer's face twisted, fury etched into every line. "You think this will save you? Your stories are worth nothing here. Fear is the victor. You'll see." With a wave of his hand, the shadows surged again, more forcefully than before. An army of darkness prepared to engulf them, screaming with anger, hunger, and fear. Lisa felt the weight of the moment crashing down, the rift beneath them widening farther, threatening to consume them whole. But suddenly, the flickering light grew brighter, pulsing rhythmically. The star above glimmered, igniting their frightened faces. "Mommy is coming back," Emma gasped, hope breaking through the terror for a moment. The shadows struggled, wavering like flames caught in a gust of wind. She clung tighter, urging her children to remain strong. "We can't give up." The moment felt electric, and she could feel the children's resolve bolstering her own. Suddenly, Lisa hurled her free arm upwards towards the star, shouting fervently, "We fight for our love, for our light, together." As she did, a shocking pulse of energy surged from the star, racing down towards them. The clearing erupted in blinding brilliance, illuminating even the darkest corners of their nightmare. But in that light, the performer bared his teeth, eyes narrowing in malice. The shadows peaked, a final push fueled by all the terror he could muster. Just as the light seemed to pierce through the darkness, a deafening roar erupted from the rift, echoing around them, rattling the very essence of the earth, drowning out everything else. Then silence fell. What just happened?" Jake whispered, disbelief creeping into his voice. Lisa's heart raced, pulse pounding in her ears, as she felt the weight of uncertainty settle back down around them. What awaited them now? What lay hidden in the depths of shadow? Suddenly, a soft giggle echoed out from the rift, sending chills skittering down Lisa's spine. "Are you ready for the real stories to begin?" A voice crooned, sweet yet dripping with malice. The shadows stirred, alive again, anticipation radiating from the darkness. And then it returned. A thick fog enveloped them as the light began to recede, swirling like a ribbon of smoke around the shadows that danced wildly in response. The rift, once a mere crack in the earth, expanded grotesquely, revealing a pulsating darkness that seemed to breathe. Lisa's instincts screamed at her to run. But where? The ground felt alive, shifting beneath her feet, reeking of despair, while the whispers encircled them like a noose tightening with every passing second. "Mommy, I'm scared." Emma's voice trembled, breaking through the cacophony of hisses. Her small hands gripped Lisa's as if she were a life raft in a stormy sea. "I know, sweetie. I know," Lisa whispered, fighting against her own rising panic. "But we're together. We'll find a way." From the shadows emerged figures, wraith-like children, their eyes pools of darkness and longing. They hovered close, their gaping mouths curved into twisted smiles. A single child stepped forward, her face gaunt and pale. "You should join us, it's better here," she intoned, her voice eerily soothing. "They don't know what they're asking," cried Jake, squeezing his mother's arm tighter as he glanced fearfully at the spectral beings. Each child seemed to embody a forgotten memory, a life once filled with laughter that had been snatched away, leaving only hollow echoes behind. The dark performer burst from the shadows, his laughter cascading like silver rain, mocking their fear. "Look at them. They offer you freedom. They see the truth in surrender." He waved his hand, sending tendrils of shadow creeping toward Lisa and her children. "No," Lisa barked, her heart pounding like a war drum. "We are not giving up. We are not afraid." The shadows hesitated, momentarily retreating. Lisa felt a surge of power rise within her as she summoned the love and memories of her children, pouring every ounce of her being into the words that spilled forth. "I will fight for you. I will tell our stories, our laughter, our love." The light above flickered again, as though echoing her determination, and with it, the pressing darkness seemed to pull back. But the moment was fleeting. The shadows crashed against the barrier she created, fierce and unyielding, each pulse of energy trembling in the air, a battle of illumination against pure darkness. "Run, Mommy!" Jake yelled suddenly, wrenching her attention. The shadows regrouped, vicious and hungry, ready to strike, with instinct kicking in. Lisa gathered her children up once more, her arms a protective shield. They dashed through the swirling tendrils of darkness, the ground bucking beneath them as chaos erupted around. The rift loomed behind them, a portal to an eternity of despair that threatened to claim them at every turn. They stumbled into what felt like the beginning of a maze. Walls of shadow shifted, creating a labyrinth that twisted and turned, constricting like a serpent coiling tighter. The echoes of lost children pursued them, whispering promises of safety that felt too perilous to trust. "Stay close," Lisa panted, her breath quickening as they plunged deeper into the heart of darkness. Behind them, the laughter of the performer boomed, mingling with the desperate cries of the spirits craving souls to join their eternal woe. "Why is this happening?" Emma sobbed, tears streaking her dirt-stained cheeks. Lisa's mind raced. "I don't know. But we must believe in our love, in our strength. We can't let the light fade again." Just then, a blinding flash illuminated the maze, revealing a terrifying sight: walls etched with faces, screams frozen in eternal anguish that mirrored the children that now surrounded them. Each had their own story, yet Lisa felt deeper, each gaze a reflection of her own worst fears. The darkness writhed. "Join us," the voices pleaded, soft and chilling, reverberating in the air. "No," she screamed, pushing through the despair pressing upon her. She gripped her children tighter, steadier. "We will write our own story." And just as they reached a fork in the path, a sinister glow flickered ahead. Lisa's heart sunk. Was that hope, or was it another trap? "Which way?" Jake whispered, terror blaring in his voice. Everything grew colder, the shadows thickening again as the sinister laughter filled the air once more. They realized then, too slowly, that the path they chose could lead them either to salvation or a dark eternity. The air shimmered with the weight of their decision, and as the shadows lunged ahead, claws outstretched, they were left with one thought: what if they chose wrong? The glowing light ahead flickered like a dying star, beckoning them with its questionable allure. Lisa hesitated. This might be it, the way out, she whispered, her voice barely audible over the cacophony of twisted whispers surrounding them. "But what if it's a trick?" Jake muttered, his grip tightening around her waist, his wide eyes scanning their surroundings. The shadows loomed, restless and hungry, eager to claim them. Emma sobbed softly, her small frame shivering as she clutched her brother's hand. It was a risk they couldn't afford to take, but the darkness was closing in. Every instinct screamed at her to move. She took a step toward the light, shadowy fingers dancing ominously behind them. "We have to go now," she urged, and with a shared nod, they sped toward the glow. As they approached, the light brightened, transforming into a strange luminous archway that pulsed like a heartbeat. A strange melody drifted from within, a haunting, yet beautiful sound that thrummed in the air, wrapping around them like a warm embrace. For a fleeting moment, the fear subsided, replaced by curiosity and intrigue. "What is that?" Emma breathed in awe. "It's like music," Jake whispered, his voice shaking. The closer they got, the more compelling the music became, a soft lullaby laced with something sinister that seemed to promise safety. Lisa felt the pull it had over them. It was intoxicating and warm, almost comforting. But then she remembered the laughter of the darkness, the way it promised freedom while whispering despair. "Stay strong," she reminded her children, clenching her fists. "It's not real." As they stepped into the archway, the music swelled, drowning out their thoughts. The shadows receded for a brief second, revealing a surreal landscape of swirling colors and dancing lights. Figures materialized from the fog, joyful faces, swaying in rhythm with the haunting melody. But their eyes held a deep sadness, as if delight had long abandoned them. "This place, it feels wrong," Jake said, unease twisting in his chest. "Just keep walking," Lisa commanded, fighting against the pull of the melodies. They moved deeper, the colors around them twinkling like stars, yet each new step felt heavy, as if pulled back by invisible threads. The joyous faces started to distort, their smiles now grotesque, shadows creeping across their features. "Join us, dance with us," they beckoned, voices swirling with the music. "No," Lisa shouted, lurching forward. "We have to keep going." She pushed the children ahead, moving through the throng of entrapment. But suddenly, shadows erupted from the ground, dark arms snatching at their legs. Lisa stumbled, pulling the kids close. "Don't let go," she yelled, her heart racing as the chilling laughter returned, echoing over the music. The wraith-like figures closed in, their hollow eyes locking onto them with desperate hunger. "Join us, join the festival," they sang, voices dripping with malice. Lisa couldn't breathe. The music became deafening, chaos rising around them. The figures danced in mad circles, their movements jerky, unnatural. She could see through the manic glee despair clawing at their faces. They weren't free, they were trapped. Who would willingly join their twisted revelry? "Mommy!" Emma shrieked, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I want to go home. Then we fight." Lisa screamed back, hatred burning against the terror. "We fight together." With every ounce of strength left, she pulled her children forward, past the thrumming melody of doom. The shadows writhed around them, desperate to drag them into their eternal dance. But just as they burst through the mass of faceless woe, an eruption of laughter shook the air. The dark performer's silhouette loomed larger at the archway, eyes alight with manic delight. He tilted his head, watching their struggle with gleeful anticipation. "You can run, but the music will always find you," he taunted, stretching out his hand. "Run," Lisa urged, but they were out of time. The shadows surged behind them, and the bitter laughter twisted into a roar, drowning out her voice as they retreated into the chaotic unknown. Breathless, they emerged into another gloomy corridor of the maze, completely disoriented. The melody faded, but the laughter didn't. In that strange calm, they felt a new dread settle in their bones. Lisa turned to her children, determination burning in her eyes. "Whatever happens, we stick together. We will find our way out." Yet as they pressed on, the walls began to close in, the very air thick with despair. Each step felt heavy with dread. Where were they headed now? With every turn, the shadows loomed closer, hungry for their light. But Lisa had made a promise, and they would have to unravel the sinister web binding them to this nightmare. "Do you hear that?" Emma whispered suddenly, eyes wide with fear. "What?" Lisa asked, straining her ears. At that moment, they all heard it, a faint tune echoing from the depths, eerily similar to the melody they had just escaped. A new wave of dread crushed her spirit. What new horror awaited them this time? The shadows shifted in sudden silence, hovering unnaturally as the haunting melody wrapped around Lisa and her children. A chill crept into her bones, squeezing the breath from her lungs like a vice. "Emma! Jake!" she whispered, her voice shaking. "Focus on me. We have to keep moving." The oppressive weight of the darkness pressed against them, but Lisa held tight to the warmth of her children's hands, determined to shield them from the cold despair swirling nearby. "What if it leads us back to him?" Jake's voice trembled with unshed tears. "I know," Lisa admitted, the lump in her throat aching with fear. "But we have to try. We can't let him win." She pressed forward, a surge of courage flowing through her as they pressed deeper into the ominous corridor. Each step felt like an echo of their shared heartbeat, pounding against the encroaching shadows. Suddenly, a flash illuminated the darkness around them, and figures emerged, lost, wandering souls. Their dear faces twisted in agony, forever trapped in limbo, waiting for salvation that would never come. Lisa's heart sank. Each pallid form looked like a mirror of her beloved children twisted into despair. "Mommy, they look sad," Emma whimpered, her eyes wide and frightened. "We can't let that happen to us." Lifting her chin, Lisa moved closer, feeling a newfound sense of determination. "We're leaving this festival behind, no matter what it takes." At that moment, the melodic echoes grew louder, morphing into far more insidious laughter. The shadows around them pulsed and writhed as if anticipating something terrible. The darkness danced, eager to snatch away the light she clutched so dearly. Then the performer was there, stepping into view as though the shadows themselves had summoned him. "Fleeing one T save you," he taunted, his voice smooth, yet dripping with malice. His smile stretched unnaturally wide, the flickers of familiarity tainted with the grotesque. "You're part of this now. Every child you save becomes a shadow beneath my light." The air grew thick with tension. "No!" Lisa's scream erupted as she pulled Jake and Emma closer. She could feel the warmth of their hands slipping against her palms, the bond of love shepherding her resolve. "We are not yours." The shadows surged and thrashed, their claws reaching hungrily for the fading flickers of hope. Time felt suspended as their eyes met, a silent promise binding them together. Lisa recognized the moment for what it was, a stand against the encroaching nightmare. "Think of our stories," she shouted, letting desperation feed her voice. "Remember the strength of the heroes we loved. They never gave up." But even as the shadows writhed, a glint of fear flickered in her children's eyes, the weight of doubt pushing in from all sides. The shadows drew closer, voices calling out with twisted promises. "Join us, it's better here. Freedom awaits, fight it. Jake, fight it. Emma." A fire ignited inside her, fueling her voice with a raw intensity that burned through the shadows around them. "Remember who we are." Lisa's words rang out, bouncing off the walls of despair. "We are a family. We are love, and we fight back." Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted. The once suffocating darkness flickered as Lisa's fervent declarations seemed to slice through the shadows. She gritted her teeth, pressing on. Behind her, the lament of countless lost souls rose, twining around their desperate fight. The shadows strained against her light, faltering as the penetrating brightness swelled around them, pushing against the encroaching void. "No!" The performer's face twisted with fury, a mask of rage and disbelief. "You cannot escape. You are mine. We are our own." Lisa shouted, light erupting from their grasp as if in answer to her words. A cacophony of radiant energy forced the gloomy wails into mere whispers, sending the palpable tension crackling through the air. In that heart-stopping moment, all doubt slipped away. The shadows recoiled, flickering against her newfound strength as the brightness grew. "We're not afraid of you." Emma and Jake joined in unison, their voices a powerful, vibrating force that seemed to reverberate through the growing light. With ultimate resolve, Lisa took a step forward, embracing the pulsing light that burned within. "Together," she yelled. "Together, we are more." As the darkness shrieked, a final wave of brilliant energy emerged from the edges of their trembling forms. All at once, the shadows erupted into chaos. Piercing screams mingling with the laughter of the lost children echoed into nothingness. And then silence fell. The corner of shadows faded, leaving behind the once vibrant clearing of the festival, now stripped bare of its insidious charm. Before them lay an empty ground, unmarred and still. Breathless and trembling, Lisa fell to her knees, drawing her children close. The raw energy that had surged within them lingered, glimmering like remnants of a fading sunset. They were free. We did it, Jake whispered, pure disbelief lighting his features. We fought together, and we won, Lisa replied, her heart swelling with gratitude and relief. Tears streamed down Emma's cheeks as she gasped. Are we safe now, Mommy? Yes, sweet girl, Lisa nodded, pulling them in tight. We are safe. The distant echoes of the festival faded into a haunting memory, a reminder of the night's nightmare and the undeniable power of love. As they stood under the starlit sky, a glow emerged from behind the trees, beckoning them homeward. With shaky breaths and newfound determination, Lisa gathered her children close one last time. They headed towards the light, hearts steadying together. The horror had ended, and though the echoes of their fear would linger, they had faced the dark together stronger than ever, as a family, and the music of the dark festival was silenced, forevermore. If you loved this story, you need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and ensure you never miss our next exclusive tales. Don't wait even one more second. Flood our comments section with your thoughts, reactions, and theories about this epic ending. And please, share this video with at least 5 friends who need to experience this conclusion. Your support means everything,